Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm giving my full review on the Nike ZoomX Invincible. So I've only had this shoe for less than a week, but I've ran in it so much I decided to just skip my first impressions video and get straight into my full review. In this video I'll go over the stats on the Nike Invincible, then I'll talk about the upper, the midsole, the outsole, pros and cons about the shoe, and finally how I personally am using it. So my men's size 8.5 weighs in at 9.1 ounces or 258 grams. In the men's version of the shoe, it has a heel to toe drop of 9 millimeters with a hefty stack height of 37 millimeters in the rear and 28 millimeters in the forefoot. And the upper on this shoe features Nike's fly knit upper material. When I first got the shoe, just looking at it, I didn't think it would be able to breathe that well. But after running in it plenty over the last week, I can attest that there's been no breathability issues whatsoever. It breathes just fine, and overall this shoe, everything about it just screams comfort. So the upper feels really nice on this shoe. There's a ton of padding inside the heel. There's actually quite a bit of padding outside the heel, which I don't know if that was necessary or not. The shoe features a semi-gusseted tongue. The tongue's of perfect length. It has quite a bit of cushion as well, no issues there. And this heel counter has a little bit of structure to it, and then there is this support panel here at the bottom, which is going to add just a touch of stability as well. And that reminds me, I should mention that this is a neutral support shoe. So for myself, I always run in neutral support shoes, and I have very mild pronation, but when I slow down footage of me running in the shoe, you can see that it's collapsing quite a bit. So if you're someone who has really weak ankles or excessive pronation, you might want to look elsewhere than the Nike Invincible because it's not going to offer a ton of support for you. And as far as the upper goes on the shoe, there is one big negative, and that is the lace length. They're just too short. So for myself, I have just enough lace to tie them up regularly, but if I had any heel slipping issues and I needed to tie them up doing a heel lock or lace lock, there just wouldn't be enough lace to do that. So I don't think many people are going to have issues with their heel sliding in and out because this heel collar is so padded. But if you did have to do the heel lock, you're going to have to swap these laces out for a longer pair. Now we move along to the midsole on this shoe, and this is what makes this shoe so special, so expensive, and that's because this midsole is made up of Nike's ZoomX foam. So that's the same foam that's in the Alphafly, the Vaporfly. Those are Nike's racing carbon plated super shoes, and now we have it in a daily trainer. So no carbon plate in this midsole. It's quite flexible, especially compared to those racing shoes, but it's still just as bouncy and as squishy as ever. And I will say that you're going to feel most of the cushion kind of from the midfoot to the rear, just because there is such a high stack height in the back of the shoe. And that's not to say it's a firm ride in the forefoot. You're just going to feel a ton of cushion from the middle to the rear. So there aren't many other shoes that feel like this midsole. You're going to get kind of a similar feeling out of those race shoes just because it uses the same foam. But the closest feel to the Nike Invincible is probably the Asics Nova Blast. And I'm trying not to do too much of a comparison between those two shoes in this video. I'll save that for a week or two from now. But overall, a pretty unique experience in this shoe. First of all, if you don't like cushion or a soft feeling shoe, look elsewhere. And the shoe still has great energy return. So over the past week, I've done a bunch of runs in this shoe, and every time I've taken this shoe out, at whatever pace I'm running at, my heart rate is always quite a bit lower in this shoe compared to some other daily trainers that I own. And I can attribute some of that to an increase in fitness over the last couple of weeks, but also just because of the energy return in this shoe. So I think this shoe is just making it easier for me to run at easier paces versus a lot of the other daily trainers out there. Now we move along to the outsole on the Nike Invincible, and it is covered in rubber. It has Nike's waffle pattern, and it grips just fine on wet surfaces. One of my runs was done on wet pavement, and I had no issues whatsoever. I don't personally think this is going to be the most durable rubber. So far through 60K, I have zero wear on the outsole, and from what I've read online is you should get anywhere from 300 to 500 miles out of this shoe, and that's a massive range. I think life of this shoe is going to depend a lot on what type of foot strike you have, how heavy of a runner you are, and to be honest, I'm not sure if you're going to wear the outsole out first or the midsole is going to wear out first. But at the end of the day, if I can get 300 miles or over 400 kilometers out of this shoe, I'll be happy. So let's talk about the fit and the ride of this shoe. The Nike Invincible does fit true to size, and it has a nice wide toe box, although it tapers in quite a bit in the midfoot. So if you have a narrower foot, this shoe might be a great option for you. But if you have a wide foot, especially in the midfoot, I don't know if the shoe is going to work for you. You're going to have to try a pair on before you buy them. But at least as far as my foot type, this is one of the best fitting shoes I own. And I'm really happy that they made a nice wide base in the forefoot and in the rear as well. So when you compare the Nike Invincible against other shoes like the Asics Nova Blast, it's quite a bit wider. So on one of my runs over the last week, I went on a route that has a cambered shoulder, or a shoulder that has a bit of an angle to it. And I hate running on that road in my Nova Blast or my Nike Vaporfly Next Percent because it's such a squishy midsole and it's so narrow at the rear. It's really uncomfortable running on a road that has an angle to it. But in the Nike Invincible, I didn't experience that. I had no issues with my foot falling over the midsole while I was running. So I'm pumped to finally have a high stack height, super squishy cushioned shoe that I can run anywhere with. Now to go over some pros and cons on this shoe. We'll start with pros. I think the Nike Invincible is going to be one of the very best shoes that you can buy as far as easy runs and recovery runs and even long runs go. By now it's pretty well known that the ZoomX foam saves your legs, makes them feel more fresh compared to some of the other shoes that are out there. And when it comes to like a recovery run, long run, easy run, that's exactly what you want. Another huge pro on the shoe is the fit and comfort. Nike really nailed it with this shoe. You could kind of look at this shoe as being like a luxury car of the running shoe world. Okay, so cons about this shoe. First up has to be the price. So the Nike Invincible retails for 180 US or 235 Canadian. And that is a ton of money for a daily trainer. But I guess if you want one of the very best options when it comes to saving your legs and having a great shoe for recovery runs, long runs, easy runs, it might justify the price. So how have I and how will I continue to use the Nike Invincible? I'll use it for most of my easy runs, my recovery runs, and my long runs. But take this morning's run, for example, I did an easy 25K in this shoe, and my legs feel totally fine. They don't feel like they have 25K in them. So I definitely think there's something to be said about recovering from your runs because of the ZoomX midsole. I am really looking forward to comparing this shoe against the new Nova Blast 2 that's coming out, as well as the Hoka Mach 4. I haven't got my hands on a Mach 4 yet, but from what other people are saying, that's a fantastic shoe. But in the meantime, I'm gonna love cruising through easy miles with my Nike Invincible. Amazing shoe, yes, overpriced, but it's definitely one of the best, if not the best, daily trainer when it comes to racking up all those easy miles. So let me know down below in the comments if you've ran in the Nike Invincible and what you think of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.